All right, we are live and we're just checking, waiting for the 10-second delay to happen on Facebook. Okay, President Jenkins, we are ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is December the 7th, and the time is 6:44. Reynoldsburg City Council meeting. I am Council President Angie Jenkins. This meeting is being held virtually and live streamed on the City of Reynoldsburg Government Facebook page. Molly, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker, and he replied here, he's in the audience. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Strickland.
Here.
Councilmember Salvati.
Here.
Councilmember Pacaro.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Cotner.
Here.
And President Jenkins.
Here. Next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. The agenda needs to be amended to add item 12C to the Finance and Administration Committee meeting as item 9F, number 4. If there's no other changes to the agenda, it will stand as amended. Next, we'll have the approval of minutes. Approval of City Council regular meeting minutes for November 23rd, 2020. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next, we'll have community comments. The community comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to address council, bringing matters to the attention of City Council. Comments related to tonight's public hearing may be made only during the period of the hearing. The council president will invite speakers to be recognized and give their name and their address. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole and not exceed 3 minutes. Next, we'll have Councilmember Baker with the Mel Clemens Community Service Award.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First I want to thank Shane and Melanie for agreeing to do this award. Mel means a lot to a lot of people and his dedication to the city of Reynoldsburg. And so this award is to show the kind of spirit Mel had towards the city. He gave a lot of his years servicing the city of Reynoldsburg, and I thought that it was respect that creating this award would help, as I say, it helps keep his spirit alive in the city of Reynoldsburg. So the Mel Clemens Community Service Award was created to honor the legacy of Mel Clemens. This award is presented to an individual who has displayed outstanding volunteer services to Reynoldsburg community for 2020. Our 2020 recipient was nominated by Bill Reaper in the Reynoldsburg Lions Club for its nominal hours of community service by spearheading many events to benefit the community. So please join me in congratulating April Darling as our 2020 Mel Clemens Community Service recipient. Yeah. And for a small token of our esteem, you get this nice award. This is Merrill Clemens Community Service Award, April Darling, 2020.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Wow.
you. Wow, that's so cool. Other than I'm very honored to receive this award, Mal was a really cool and awesome type of guy. So I'm very honored and I appreciate being nominated. A lot of you know I do a lot of the work from back behind the scenes and I don't come to the forefront. So again, very honored and I thank you very much.
Thank you, April, for coming in today to receive your award.
Thanks for having me.
You are the embodiment of what Mel stood for, serving the community, never asking for anything, but always willing to jump forward and just serve others and not just yourself. And this is what the award is all about. So once again, thank you, and please continue to
Absolutely.
do good work.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
And added bonus, I'm going to get you a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper. I know you love it. So I didn't have enough time to stop today, but you will be receiving it.
Thank you.
There might be a couple of cans missing.
That's okay. That's fine. That's totally fine. Thank you. Again, I'm very honored. Thank you.
President Jenkins, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker, and thank you, April, for your many contributions. There's a long list of your contributions in Reynoldsburg to name, but I want to thank you because it has been an honor and a privilege to know you and to get to know you and see you all around town with the many events that you do here and the hard work that you put in. And yes, you do deserve the Dr. Pepper as well. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Madam President, excuse me, may I just share, just to piggyback on your accolades? I just find
Yes.
it so apropos for Miss Darlene to be dressed as one of Santa's helpers because that's what she is all throughout the year. She's always helping. So thank you, Elf Darlene.
Thank you.
Does anybody else would like to say anything?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Councilmember Baker, for presenting the Mel Clemens Community Service Award. We appreciate April for all of her hard work and commitment.
Awesome.
Wing hanger.
I'm gonna take a picture real quick before you leave. Let's do that here. We do that.
Molly, do we have any other comments from the community?
Madam President, there were 9 members of the community who I sent invitations to. And I just checked the computer. No one has signed into Zoom to participate, but I do have 4 comments that were emailed to me to be read. So I'll go ahead with those. And if anyone comes in, I will let you know.
Okay.
The first is from Jennifer Finkley at 877 Sorohan Street here in Reynoldsburg. As a resident of Reynoldsburg, I am highly disappointed in the water increasing in price. It has already done so, and I have noticed a heavy decrease in quality. My hair feeling more brittle is probably the least of my concerns, though highly undesirable. The water smelling heavily chlorinated is a bigger concern. I should not be able to smell chlorine when I turn on the tap. I know 6 months ago, I did not smell this, yet the chlorine smell has occurred and the bills have gone up. All of this, especially during a pandemic that has affected my family and many families in the community heavily. This is just an awful thing to pass off to residents, and I cannot stand for it. I cannot afford it, nor can many of the community. The next comment is from Jeffrey Springer here in Reynoldsburg. I am a first-time homeowner and Army veteran in the area. I am strongly opposed to any increases during this time. We do not know what's to come with the effects of the virus. To increase our water bill by any % at this time is inhumane. The neighborhood looks nice, but you can't assume that this increase wouldn't hurt one's household. City Council should not be taking advantage of people due to an increase of people being home more because of COVID. The next comment is from Ronessa Springer. I believe the timing for this increase is hitting most at a bad time. Many people are out of work and who knows what the immediate future may hold. I believe the decision should be delayed until this time next year. We've all had enough change for 1 year. Allow people to hold their coins, especially with knowing we will all owe more taxes next year with the president's plan. And the last comment is from Deborah Lawson on Crestview Street in Reynoldsburg. I'm currently contacting you in regards to the vote that is supposed to take place on December 7th for the increase in water. I'm currently furloughed because of the pandemic and cannot afford another increase in my bill. My bill has increased between $80 and $100 each billing cycle since there was an increase last year. This is a struggle at this point, and I'm sure there are many more citizens of Reynoldsburg that feel the same. This should not be happening when so many people are out of work. Besides, the bills are outrageous already, and they want to increase them more. Unacceptable. And that is all the written comments that I received, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from council? Do we have any comments from Mayor Begany this evening?
Yes, Madam President, just a few quick comments. Just wanted to remind everybody that Truro Township is having a toy drive, and some of those boxes are located here at City Hall. We also have an opportunity to drop toys off on December 20th from 9 to 11:30 a.m. at the Truro Firehouse on Main Street. You can also make your donations online as well as in person. So again, just want to make sure that everybody was aware of that. A great opportunity to go out and do that. And thanks to all of you who were able to attend the virtual tree lighting this past weekend. It was a great success. Thank you very much.
Do you have any time frame for the boxes and how long they will be there in City Hall?
I believe the online has to be put in by the 16th, and then the last drop off again is that December 20th. And I think that's after, not long after that, they're going to be getting the.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we will have item 6, which is a public hearing. There's a public hearing this evening on an ordinance to amend Chapter 11, Planning and Zoning Code for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Anyone wishing to comment on this ordinance will be recognized. Please give your name and address, speaking only for 3 minutes. Molly, do we have anyone in the audience or on Zoom that is going to speak regarding the public hearing this evening?
I'm muted. I'm sorry. No, ma'am. There is no one in the audience or here tonight for the public hearing.
Do we have any comments from Attorney Shook or from
President
Director
Jenkins?
Baxter? Yes.
Thank you, President Jenkins, other members of council this evening. Since the first reading that it had before you, we've had a couple of changes that was recommended by the Planning Commission, that was approved or recommended for your approval last Thursday. I'm just going to go over some of those. They're just 4 that are different that are inside your packet, very small changes. One of them being the RV parking for changes. Instead of 10 feet from the public right of way or from the public access, it would be 3 feet from the front street. That allows individuals that have alley access or a secondary road to be able to park their RVs a little bit closer. We just felt that that was necessary. Our code was a little too stringent and it was very hard for us to enforce certain aspects. And so we really needed to take a look at what we really wanted to allow and what we did not want to allow or see inside the city. So that was one of the changes. All residential will be a conditional use in the CC district, which also is sort of a pseudo mixed use district in its own right. But we didn't want anybody coming in with any sort of residential plan without there being better checks and balances. Additionally, we added in gross vehicle limits. This was in turn because we basically said that dual tires were not allowed into the residential areas. Well, that would prevent people from having dually trucks like a Ford F-350. But what we need to prevent is the box trucks and the larger trucks like the F-450. So we changed a little bit of that. Instead of the regular site plan, we've changed it to call it out as a minor site plan. And we removed that to only be commercial instead of commercial and residential. The major site plan is for commercial and residential. So those are sort of the minor changes that we had made that are not inside your packet. And by next Monday, we'll have a very clean copy, clean version for everyone to be able to see. So outside of that, as you stand before you, this is a recommended unanimously by Planning Commission for approval by City Council.
Okay. I had someone approach me yesterday as I was walking through Taylor Woods, and she has a food truck. Would a food truck fall under the guidelines of the RV parking?
It would not, depending on how large the food truck would be, and typically it would be sort of in a commercial area. Now, granted, food trucks within the city are actually regulated by the fire department, not necessarily by us as the city, but it would depend on their axle and the size, and it would depend on if they're parking it there in the residential area for like overnight sort of parking to leave it there, or whether they're just having it in the city. They absolutely can have it in the commercial areas of the city, but it would depend on what it is if they're going to park it in the residential area.
Okay, should I have her contact your department for some answers that she was asking me, because I told her I didn't know, but I would try to find out for her.
Absolutely.
She lives in Taylor Woods.
Please give her my direct line and we'll work it out.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from anyone on council?
I have a question, but I can wait until we get into committee.
Okay, do we have any other questions from anyone else regarding the planning and zoning code? And we don't have anyone else that is in the audience or online. So if no one has any other questions, this public hearing is now closed. And we will move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is communications. And as of this time, we don't have any other further communications this evening. And it looks like we don't have any motions, so we'll move on to our reports. Development, Parks and Recreation Committee, and that's Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Development, Park and Recreation Committee meeting for December 7th, 2020. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Pacquiao, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, myself, and President Jenkins. The first item on the agenda is an ordinance to amend Chapter 11 Planning and Zoning Code for the City of Reynoldsburg. This ordinance is before council for a second reading and for a possible amendment. Director Boucher, is there anything more you'd like to add? I know you mentioned some changes from the zoning, planning and zoning board, but is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing at this time, Councilmember Baker.
Is there any questions or comments from the committee? Any from council? Okay. I had 2 questions. One was, I know we was talking about RVs. What about residents who have a boat that would like to park it in their driveway or on the side of the house? That's not a yacht, obviously, but a small fishing boat or something like that. I was trying to go through to see if I saw anything that mentioned that, but I didn't see anything. And so I was just wondering if I just missed it or it's not in there.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Baker. You bring up a good point. So what we recognize as a recreational vehicle, it's not just in the common nature of an RV. Any recreational vehicle, meaning whether it's a boat or whether it's a travel trailer, it's all underneath of a recreational vehicle. That's what your boat would be underneath. It's just a common terminology.
Okay. My second question was, I talked to Attorney Shook, City Attorney Shook through email earlier about this question. about the bank and the financial portion. I know it's in the innovative district. I was reading that it's a permitted use. And my question brought up was about the check cashing loan places and those auto title loan places, that they would be under that. Is there any way that we could separate that, or is it just part of that group? Because I would like, especially for check cashing places and auto title loan places, to be more of a permitted conditional use if possible, because of the nature of those type of businesses. And I've heard personal stories. I actually had people personally I know that got caught into those type of businesses. And I mean, it is a free country. You're allowed to have a business, but certain type of businesses, I don't like that. I'd rather have some sort of boundary there instead of just letting them open up.
Yeah, those are good questions. You know, I think Attorney Shook, unless he has an answer right off the cusp, I'd have to confer with him and discuss it. Certainly they're predatory lending practices, but I don't know how to differentiate them.
Councilman Baker, there's a couple things that we could do. It would have to take place between now and third read. And of course, because it's different from the recommendation of Planning Commission, then approval from council of the zoning changes would require at least 6 votes. Now that's the procedural part of it. What we could do with the code is one, we of course could make these financial services and banking businesses all together a conditional use in the innovation district. That's certainly possible. We could carve out a narrower definition for the kinds of businesses that you're talking about and create that as a different kind of use, and then list that use as a conditional use in that district. Those are 2 possibilities. You know, obviously, you know, being a week away from third read and potential vote on this, you know, it's not ideal to be making that change this late, but it's certainly possible.
Whichever would be the best course of action. We could discuss it more. Like I said, this is the second read, so we have about a week before we get to the third read to discuss what would be the best course of action to handle institutions like those, because it is very known. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can get some language to you, and then if you want to bring it up at the next meeting for potential amendment, we can obviously discuss it then as well.
I appreciate it, because like I was going to say, it is well known that these type of businesses basically take advantage of those who are desperate in need, to the point where the state of Ohio had to create a law to help protect people. So, but we'll discuss it more down the road, and I appreciate it, sir. Is there any other questions, comments about this ordinance?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes, ma'am.
I received a late comment that is in particular relevant to this ordinance. Would you mind if I read it into the record now?
Sure, please.
Okay. This comment is from Robert Barga, and I believe he's commenting on behalf of the school district. My name is Robert Barga. I'm a resident at 1589 Stoddard Drive, and I'm writing in my capacity as school district liaison to the city. I would like to thank Mayor Begany and the City Attorney Shook for taking an extended period of time in March to discuss with me the planning and zoning code and how it impacts the schools. Based on the proposed changes, the majority of our concerns were addressed. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the mayor for the open door policy he has created for these discussions and for those that have occurred as such. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Baker, for allowing that to be read into the record.
You're welcome. Okay, last call. Is there any other comments?
I'm going to mention one more thing, Councilmember Baker, if I can.
Okay.
There's actually 0 of those type of lending services currently in the innovation, at least up on the Bryce. corridor. And I do want to mention, and I just had mentioned this to the mayor earlier, so maybe a small victory here, but the Cash Max place that sits in front of our food pantry, that's going to be completely gutted and redone into several other smaller commercial areas. So, you know, we're moving towards getting away from some of those predatory lending practices. So it may not even become an issue that we need to address into the future as we continue to evolve and create better development along Main Street and on Bryce Road.
Okay. That's good to hear, actually.
Yes.
Barring any other comments or question, I move we amend this ordinance to include the proposed recommendation changes from the Planning Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Lawson Rowe. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ordinance passed, and I move that for this ordinance for a second reading as amended to council. As there is no other further business in front of the committee, I would turn this back over to you, Council, Madam President.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item B. There is no Public Safety Law and Courts Committee meeting this evening. Item C is there is no Public Service and Transportation Committee meeting this evening as well. And we will move on to F, which is our Finance and Administration Committee. Councilmember Savati.
Thank you, President Jenkins. This is the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for December 7th, 2020. Members in attendance are Councilmember Baker, Councilmember Bryant, Councilmember Strickland, myself, and President Jenkins. The first item on the agenda for tonight is an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to fund the health savings accounts for 2021 and declaring an emergency. Auditor Sisek, is this as straightforward as it sounds?
President Jenkins and Chairman Salvati, it absolutely is. It's administrative in nature. I need your permission to be able to fund our Chapter 160 and FOP personnel's healthcare savings accounts. The amounts are still the same as they were last year. $2,000 for a single family, for single person, $4,000 for a family, and it's different for our police contract. Since there's only 2 meetings left in this year, so I need your permission for an emergency at the second reading.
Are there any questions from the committee on this item? Any questions from the rest of council? All right. I move to forward this ordinance to council for its first reading. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Strickland. Any last discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. All right, second item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the city cyber insurance for 2021, waive competitive bidding and declaring an emergency. I'm told Director Bowler may have comments on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Savati, Council President Jenkins, and members of council. This legislation is exactly that, cyber insurance policy for the city. This coverage is going to increase from $12,586 to the renewal amount of $15,822. This is due to an increase in, the city does have a 5.7% increase in revenue. And this is actually the first significant increase we've saw with this coverage. Also to note, the deductible is going to go from 15,000 to 25,000. And that is strictly due to market conditions and losses. This is related to ransomware. Although we've been very fortunate not to have any claims such as that, it's just more market conditions. And there's a lot of other subsequent costs involved whenever someone is or a business is attacked with ransomware. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Hi, this is Councilwoman Strickland. Have we ever had any issues with the, the cyber securities at City Hall at all?
I know we've been very fortunate that we've not had any issues with that. Most of our network, to some of the displeasure of some employees, is pretty locked down. Which is very important, and that's probably why we have not had issues. We have people trying to get in constantly. I think occasionally we'll get an email from the mayor that says, take the city credit card and go buy a bunch of gift cards. But most of us is on to that, or, the various ones. But I think coupled with our IT team and, we need this insurance in place just to protect the city, heaven forbid, unless we do come up with something.
So with the cost and increase, do we have any extra benefits, I guess, then, since we have not, had any issues? Have we had, with the extra $3,000 and so, is there any extra benefit for us going up more in the insurance?
There is no extra benefits added to this policy. We do have more revenue that is coming into the city, at least based upon our history now. And anytime they're having to cover more funding or more software, any of that stuff, it's going to increase because, as in any policy, the more they cover, the more they want.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sandra, when does the contract expire that we currently have?
December 31st.
Okay, so is that the reason for the emergency?
Yes, ma'am. It takes a while to get, we always try to market these things, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time going through our broker and getting responses back.
Okay.
Madam President, members of council, I think Chair Salvati is trying to get back in. So I just wanted to quickly say, those emails are not coming from me. They are in name, but usually it's an email address that has nothing to do with it. They've not been able to penetrate our system to send an email as the mayor or other staff members. But yes, indeed, I would say probably once every 3 to 5 weeks, you're going to see someone in the building get an email. As a matter of fact, our clerk of courts actually came up at one point in time and was asking questions. Did the mayor have a particular area that he wanted me to get gift cards from? So for us, it's really about being diligent. The same things that all of us have seen out there in the past, don't click on things that are from an unfamiliar area. Don't download anything. It's from an outside source unless it's a trusted venue. But this is more precautionary. The downside of this is if you've seen ransomware, all of a sudden locking a city's infrastructure systems out from computer software and not holding it for ransom for Bitcoin or whatever else it is that's out there. So it's one of those things that we all have to deal with now in this new world. But again, just for the record, those were not my emails.
Not trying to sell a free trip to Aruba.
Madam President, this is the auditor. I have a quick comment. One of the actions plans that we received in the past from the state auditor was to have backup disks for our computer system in the event of an emergency. And every week they're brought down from the administration to the auditor's safe. So we do keep backups. No matter what, we'll be okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Has Councilmember Savati been to come back in?
I am back.
Okay, great.
Hopefully that was a riveting conversation. So, sorry about that. So I assume all our questions are out of the way then. Are there any more questions before I move? All right. I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first read. Is there a second?
Second by Council.
I think Councilman Baker beat you by a second there with his hand wave.
Okay.
So any last discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. So third on the agenda is an ordinance to encumber the unencumbered balance of the CARES Act fund to be used for payroll expenses for public safety employees whose services were substantially dedicated to mitigation or responding to the COVID-19 public health emergency and declaring an emergency. Auditor Sisek.
Chairman Salvati, President Jenkins, and members of council, I did bring some good news tonight. During the Thanksgiving holiday, the city of Reynoldsburg received additional CARES Act funds from redistribution from cities that were not able to encumber and allocate their CARES Act funds. So we received from Franklin County $122,050.10. From Licking County, we received $38,795.35. And from Fairfield County, $3,842.80, for a total of an additional $164,688.25. Now I am asking for an emergency because there are only two meetings left for the rest of the year, and this money does need to be allocated and encumbered. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you for that clarification. I was reading through this this ordinance and I wasn't sure. I knew we had moved all that additional money in. I was like, where is this money coming from? So that's good news. Any questions? Any questions from my committee? All right. Any questions from the rest of council? Extra money is always good, right?
Right.
All right.
Especially
So-
when we can dedicate it to our public safety force.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. I move we forward this ordinance to council for its first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Councilperson Bryant. Any last discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. All right, next, fourth item on the agenda is an ordinance to amend Chapter 160 Employee Compensation, Section 160.01 Definitions, Section 160.02 Authorized Positions, Personnel, Classifications, and Pay Grades, Sections 160.03 Salary Schedule, Sections 160.04 Other Compensation, Section 160.05 Overtime Eligibility, and Sections 160.08 Administration of Pay Plan of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Second reading was 11/23/2020. Director Bowler just wanted me to read this again, but I think she has some comments on it, hopefully.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Savati. We are asking that you would put emergency language on this as well for us to be able to implement all these changes on January the 1st. Within the Chapter 160, there's notations that says effective January 1. However, we failed to, or I failed, I will own this, I failed to ask for the emergency language on the third read. This has really been a team effort with different directors. We've worked with the auditor's office so that we can implement this in a way that it works with their computer systems. And there's been changes up until last week, trying to cover everything so that we're not back here asking you midway through the year to make changes. I'll be happy to answer any questions on this.
All right. Are there any questions on the ordinance from the committee? From the rest of the council? So I have a question for Molly. Do we have to amend this to have the emergency language?
Yes, and that should be on your, that should be available to you there.
Ah, yes, it is. All right. So, seeing no comments, I move we amend this ordinance to add the emergency measure and amend the additions and changes to the various pay grades as outlined in Chapter 160 as presented in council's packet. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Person Baker. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. So I move to forward this amended ordinance to council for a third reading and emergency approval. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All right, seconded from Councilperson Strickland. Any final discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a third reading and emergency approval. That concludes the business for the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for tonight. Sorry for the leaving you for a bit, but I'll return the meeting to Council President Jenkins.
Now, Councilman Savati, was you checking on the Steelers game?
I wish.
Okay, we'll move on to item 10 on the agenda, which is consent agenda for first reading. Items 10A through C are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a first reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with the first reading. Would the clerk please read items 10A through C?
Item A, an ordinance authorizing the city auditor to fund the health savings account for 2021 and declaring an emergency. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the city's cyber insurance for 2021, waive competitive bidding and declaring an emergency. Item C, an ordinance to encumber the unencumbered balance of the CARES Act fund to be used for payroll expenses for public safety employees whose services were substantially dedicated to mitigation or responding to the COVID-19 public health emergency and declaring an emergency.
These ordinances stand for a first reading. Item 11 on the agenda is a consent agenda for a second reading. Items 11A through H are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a second reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with the second reading. Would the clerk please read items 11A through H?
A, an ordinance to amend Chapter 11, Planning and Zoning Code for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. B, an ordinance to appropriate funds for the contingency work pertaining to the construction services relating to the East Main Street and Kroger traffic light project. C, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for the 2021 water main project and appropriating funds. D, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for 2021 sewer main relining and manhole rehabilitation and appropriating funds. E, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Kirsch Group Technologies LLC for information technology services for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021. waive competitive bidding and declaring an emergency. F, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the city of Reynoldsburg health insurance coverage with Medical Mutual of Ohio for the period from January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency. G, an ordinance to transfer funds among various general fund accounts for the year-end cleanup and declaring an emergency. And H, an ordinance to make appropriations for expenses and other expenditure of the city of Reynoldsburg, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
These ordinances stand for a second reading. Item 12 on the agenda is consent agenda for a third reading and approval. Items 12A through E are part of a consent agenda. All of these ordinances stand for a third reading and approval unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion. Council will move forward with these items standing for a third reading and approval. Would the clerk please read items 12A through E?
A, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the District Advisory Council of the Franklin County General Health District and Franklin County Public Health for health services. Item B, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the state of Ohio for administration, inspection, testing services for bridges owned by the city of Reynoldsburg and declaring an emergency. C, an ordinance to amend Chapter 160 Employee Compensation, Section 160.01 Definitions, Section 160.02 Authorized Positions, Personnel, Classifications, and Pay Grades, Section 160.03 Salary Schedule, Section 1.0.04 Other Compensation, Section 160.05 overtime eligibility, and Section 160.08 administration of pay plan of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. D, an ordinance to amend the Personnel Procedure Manual regarding police command staff promotions, military service, hours of work, and overtime. E, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Donald J. Schoenhart and Associates, Inc. for management consulting services and waive competitive bidding.
May I have a motion to approve items 12A through E on the consent agenda for a third reading and approval?
Second.
May I have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was out of order.
Council
I-
Baker
I
had his
was out
hand
of-
up. Madam
Okay,
President, Council
Yeah.
Baker had his hand up as the first motion, so Councilmember Lawson Rose seconded it. It
Okay,
all
thank
went-
you for the
It all
clarification.
happened.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
and Councilmember Cutner.
Aye.
7-0, Madam President.
Thank you. The ordinances stand approved, 7 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Item 13 is legislation for third reading. Would the clerk please read item 13A?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 953 Water Charges, Section 953.01A Water Rate Schedule of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilmember Strickland?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This ordinance comes from the Public Service and Transportation Committee. I make a motion to approve this ordinance as an emergency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Salvati raised his hand.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't see him. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk please, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, Councilmember Cutner.
Thank you. I particularly see Superintendent Hellman on here tonight too. So we got a lot of information from him today, showing fund balances and some further information, some plans. I kind of wonder if he's got anything that he would like to share this evening, but I know that we have to pass along the Columbus charges. It's not our choice. This is what the city of Columbus is doing. They have to maintain, their requirements. So we don't really have much choice in that. I think it'd be irresponsible not to meet those, but I think we need to strongly look at what we do and perhaps not add an additional portion on our end. We've done it before. It's not what we really want to do long term. But given the scenario we're in and how challenging water rates are, I think we need to consider all possibilities and trying to reduce some things. We've got a lot of great projects that have been going on and projects that are still planned to go on. And they all take dollars, I know, but I just think it's something that we need to consider our residents who have been speaking loudly about great concerns on water bills. It might only be a small amount, but I think it's at least something that we should strongly consider.
Okay. Mr. Hellman, did you have any comments this evening? His screen is a little fuzzy and I'm not sure if he can hear me.
He just
Yeah,
did.
I'm muted himself again. I'm on, and no, I don't have any comments. The information I sent you is what I wanted you to have.
Madam President, we're looking at, 2% increase from Columbus and 1% for Reynoldsburg?
Yes, that's correct. 2% for the water and 3% for the sewer from Columbus. And we will be charging additional 1% above Columbus.
Is that for both water and sewer?
That's for both, correct.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we amend the water and sewer to 0.5% instead of a full percent for the water. I'm with Councilman Cotner. We've got to do something to make it a little easier on our residents. I know 0.5% isn't much, but is the kingdom going to fall if we let it go to 0.5% instead of a full percent?
And with that being said, then why just not no additional amount right now? I
was trying to split the baby here.
I know it's not a huge amount either way, but it does matter. I mean, budgets are important to families. We've got money that we're investing into the CIP. It's not maybe what we'd like to see. And I'm sure Auditor Sisak would always love to see more money in balances. But there's been progress, and to at least find a way to hit a pause button. I mean, again, we've done it before. It's not unheard of. And if that means next year we needed to look at a 1.5 or 2% and, or we have to make up for it, I think we can, but it might be something to at least make sure we're aware that, residents are struggling to make every dollar count right now.
Mr. Dorman, is there any other information you can provide to council regarding if we did not move forward with this 1% increase? How would that impact us moving into 2021?
Yeah, Councilwoman Strickland, thank you for, and I appreciate Mr. Cotner's, comments and bringing this up. Obviously, we come to you with the recommendation on what we feel we need to pass based on, the current infrastructure we have and the funding balances that are available. Ultimately, it's your decision, and we closely keep tabs on that. And like I say, we have not seen a huge huge increase in people requesting assistance with water bills. Obviously, we, looking at our population of, 40-some thousand people, not getting a lot of people that are typically reaching out to us regarding this. I think what we'll see is I agree, the Columbus rate, unfortunately, we can't control. That's something that we, have to pass through. Obviously, the 1% or 0.5%, it's just the fund balance is just not going to, it's basically like if you want to have your savings account and you're trying to save $1,000 every year, but this year you're only able to save maybe 500. That's basically what's going to happen. Our fund balance is just not going to have that money in it to maybe do some CIP projects, and they'll have to defer those for another year or two. And that's just a decision we have to make in times like this. And we'll understand whatever council decides. That's fine.
Mr. Dorman, I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, we have to relate as a government the way that individual families would think about it, businesses would think about it. Businesses are another large consumer of water and sewer rates. And I mean, these are things that, again, I definitely think that it is responsible to make sure that our water department provides the best service and that we're, employing people that are taking care of the needs of our residents. I think that's certainly part of what that increase can help with. Clearly, the long-term growth of the community with projects and the infrastructure that is so vital. But I really think with our timing, it's a small step. And then, considering what that looks like, how drastically it hits fund balances, when we look at them, there's dollars, we have help, and so much is going to rely on what grants and we're able to secure in the future too. So, so it's not all going to rely on the city and the residents anyway. I don't think that by hitting a temporary pause, we're going to see the brakes hit on the development and the growth that's happening in the community.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't go to a 0 this year, but I think a 0.5% we can make things work, and we always find ways. So we'll look at other alternative sources if we need be. But I think getting by hopefully a year, and next year we'll see some recovery and things will bounce back, and we'll get some big development projects we can talk about and move forward with that. So like I said, we'll support whatever council feels is best for your constituents out there.
Council President, can I say something?
Yes, Councilmember Baker.
I was going to say, since we do have one more meeting next Monday, would it be beneficial to let Director Dorman look at what it would be with a 0 increase from the city, or a 0.5% increase? That way we can have a better understanding of what our best option would be. But there is a motion on the floor from Councilmember Bryant, so obviously, that has to be taken care of first. If she want to continue with a 0.5%, that's fine. If she wants to rescind her motion to let Director Dorman, give him some time to look at what would be the better option, because we do have one more meeting, that's fine too, either or.
Councilman Baker, we have not yet received a second, so the motion is just laying there. She wouldn't need to do anything if she didn't want it to move forward, or if there wasn't a second. It just kind of dies.
We've got to address at some point, but I mean, I again, another week tonight, I'm fully in support of a 0 additional on our end. So that's where I feel, and maybe finding strategies how to sort that out is my view and opinion.
Councilmember, President Jenkins, can I say something?
Yes, Councilmember Pacquiao. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you're not hearing me. So Looking at this number and a lot of different calls and emails from residents, I think we should consider something here. So I would like to see what the Director Dorman will come out with the number maybe next meeting. So I think we can make a good decision, either go 0.5% or 0 this time. I'm leaning more towards 0.5%, but I think we can make a better choice, a better decision once we see that number.
Yeah, that would be, I'm sorry, this is Director Dorman. Yes, Councilman Packerel, that would be fine. I mean, either or. We did do some takeoffs initially when we did this in some scenarios, based on I think a 1.5% or 1.5%, and I can go look at those again. I think, once again, any of those, we can make work. Luckily the auditor and Paul have done a great job over the years in securing, the fund balance and making sure that we're, maintaining an adequate balance in there to continue operations. I think, whatever council decides, we'll be fine. But if you want to take a week, that's totally fine, and we can talk about this again next week when we meet.
Thank you, Director Dorman. Is there anyone that's going to second the motion that's on the floor, or do we need to rescind the motion by Councilwoman Bryant?
I mean, it sounds like Director Dorman has already looked at the different areas of what will make it work, what will not make it work. And if he says that if we do 0 or we do a 0.5, he'll work with it. But I don't want to leave the coffers bare because winter is upon us and pipes burst left and right. So I'll go ahead and second Council Member Bryant's motion, just because it is just a 0.5%, and at least we'll have something there in the fund. So I'll second the motion.
So, Madam President, can I add a quick comment?
Yes, please.
So I guess I just wanted to say that, so we got, in my opinion, and I've learned far more about water and sewer rates in the last 1.5 years than I ever thought I would know. Did a lot of research the last couple of weeks. I think we got 2 things at play here. One is, of course, everybody thinks their water bill is too high. And it probably is, but it is what it is. And I think that's going to be a battle we'll fight year after year after year. And I mean, we got to we got to put the money in the CIP that we do. But the other thing at play this year, of course, is 2020, it's COVID. So I have a feeling that we're just going to pay the price double in the next couple of years, and we'll have people screaming at us because we'll have to double the increase next year or double the increase the year after that. But with that said, COVID is real. COVID is hurting people, and I think this would be a great year to reduce it to the minimum level. I agree. We probably have to add something just for cost of living and to make sure we can get projects done. So I'm in favor of Council Member Bryant's reduction to 0.5%, at least for this year, for sure. Thank you.
Do we have any other discussion?
Just one more comment then. I mean, we have a CIP fund already in our water bills, and a CIP for our sewer, for our water. So again, reducing the water rate is just something we can do. I mean, I'll kind of stand by. It's not much, but I really, again, if like you said, Councilman Salvati, if there's ever a year and we know, that we could, I think that a 0% additional, I think we pass along the bare minimum and we try to tighten things down for, again, till we can hope that COVID's in a little more of the rearview mirror. and hopefully businesses can open and get back and function a little more normally, and we can get back on track. So I still strongly feel that that's our best course of action.
Council members, I'd like to, thank you for your comments as well. I think one thing we've seen, and I think everyone on that white page saw kind of what the rates have been and the trends over the years. And, the one unforeseeable thing too is also Columbus. I mean, Columbus has a lot of projects they're trying to fund. And obviously I wouldn't say they're passing along, because obviously without them, we wouldn't be having the water we get and the sewage treatment that we get, and something we don't want to consider building. But, they could, as you said, in the next years, they could pass a 4 and 5% increase too. So I think if any year, this is the most sensible year to take a step back. Next year, I would say it's safe to assume we're probably going to be at 1 to 2% at least, and whatever Columbus passes through, and hopefully we're in a better position. But I'm glad you brought that up. That is something we do need to consider. Is Columbus's rates it's hard to say. I mean, at one point years ago they were 7 and 8%. So it's just one thing we can't unfortunately do much about. But I appreciate you looking at our end. I think, like I said, 0.5% or 1%, we can work with either one.
I'd like to just make a comment, Madam President, real quick, that those who are watching or will be watching later, please contact the water department if you're unable to pay your water bill, to get on some sort of payment plan. If you call and talk to them, it's better than not calling or saying something at all. So I just want those who are watching, please contact them. They're willing to work with you. We all know this is trying times. Everybody can see that. So the city wants to work with you the best as possible. So that's just a plea I just wanted to put out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other further discussion before Councilmember Strickland determines the motion? So Councilmember Strickland, are you going to make the motion?
No, Madam President, there is a motion to amend the ordinance from the city portion to 0.5% instead of 1%. So we just need to vote on that amendment. Yeah, Councilman Baker seconded it.
So we just need to call the roll?
Yes.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati, Councilmember Pecorell,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Councilmember Cutner.
Aye.
Madam, the ordinance was amended 7-0. Now you'll need to take a vote to approve the ordinance as amended. You'll need a motion and a second to approve the ordinance as amended.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the ordinance as amended.
Second.
No,
So moved.
I need,
Hey, Molly, I'm sorry, this is William. I just want to make sure we're being clear to you. We're taking the 1% down to 0.5% for both water and sewer, correct? Not just
no,
water.
just water.
Okay, this is just water. Okay, just making sure.
Just water.
Okay.
Okay, who made the motion to approve the ordinance? Somebody said so moved.
So moved.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
No, we need a second now.
No. Do we have a second?
second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Strickland, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
and Councilmember Cotner.
Aye.
Madam President, the vote was 7-0.
This ordinance is approved 7-0 and no negative votes. Item 14 on our agenda, other council matters.
Madam
Is any-
President,
What,
I'm sorry, we need to do the sewer bill. I realized that was not on there. So
Oh.
let me read. Let me read item, it should be item 13B.
Okay,
An ordinance to amend chapter 945 sewer charges, section 945.02C, rate schedule of the Code of Ordinances for the city of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
yes, this is President Jenkins. This is the ordinance come from the Public Service and Transportation Committee. I make a motion to approve this ordinance as an emergency.
is there a second? Is there any discussion?
I'll question again the same issue, going above and beyond the Columbus rate. Again, keeping it as low as possible. I don't think we need to be adding anything to the Columbus rate.
And what is the rate for this one? Mr. Hellman? Or
It's 1%
Dorman?
I'm sorry, Council President, it's 1% as well.
But we were increasing it 1%, but what is the Columbus rate?
3%.
3%?
Yes, that's correct. 3% is Columbus rate.
I move that we reduce our request for increase to 0.5%.
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
One question. So what is Columbus 3%? We are increasing 0.5%. What, can you just clarify that?
Yes, that was the motion for 0.5%.
We're amending the existing motion on the table, correct?
I'm sorry.
There's an amendment on the table that Council Bryan put out there, and I second the motion. The amendment is to reduce the sewer charges from 1% to 0.5%. That was the motion on the floor.
Reynoldsburg portion of it.
The Reynoldsburg portion, yes.
I understand that part. I was asking a question before that. We're talking about Columbus is 3% and we are 1% or 0.5%. What is that? 3% Columbus means increasing, or Columbus is 3%. What is that?
Columbus
That
is
is the percent that what Columbus charges Reynoldsburg.
Yeah, that's the percent we have no control over.
Okay. All right.
So we have an ordinance to amend to 0.5 or 0.5%. We need a vote for that, correct?
Yes. I'll call the roll. Unless there's further discussion.
So I think we should be doing nothing in addition to the Columbus amount. I mean, again, we can get by and manage, but we should be reducing it at all.
Do we have any other further discussion? So Molly, let me ask you a question. If there's a motion for the half, are we voting for the half, or are we?
We are just voting to amend the ordinance to
To a
increase
half.
the Reynoldsburg portion to a half, correct?
And so if there's no other further discussion, you will call the roll.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
and Councilmember Cotner.
Okay, aye.
Okay, Madam President, the ordinance has been amended 7-0. You will need to now call the roll, have the roll called again to approve the ordinance as amended.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll for the ordinance to stand as amended?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland,
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati,
Aye.
Councilmember Pecoro,
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe,
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner.
Aye.
Madam President, the ordinance was approved 7-0.
I'm back. So, I'm sorry, I got kicked out. So did you call the roll and was it?
Yes, yeah, the
Okay,
ordinance
and the
was
vote?
approved 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to item 14 on the agenda. We have listed as other council matters. Does anyone on council have any further items that you would like to discuss this evening?
I'm sorry, Madam President.
Yes, Councilwoman Lawson.
Yes, while I don't have a matter, I just like to share recognition to our street department and just give them accolades because our snow warriors were out on December 1st clearing our streets. And then this morning, I happened to hear what sounded like a big vacuum noise. And I see that our street department was out cleaning our streets. And so that's, I guess, one silver lining during this pandemic. We're all home, so we actually get to see our taxpayer dollars at work in our own neighborhood. So I just want to publicly recognize Director Dorman and his team in the street department. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to our team. I really appreciate that.
Madam President, if you don't mind. So I know I received a call from one of my constituents here in Ward 1 regarding their water bill being extremely high. And I believe that it was Miss Emily provided a list to this individual regarding, ways to check to see if you had running water, maybe, your toilet was running or the water heater. So thank you so much for giving individuals a checklist for them to be able to tell if they experiencing abnormal high water bill for some particular reason. So thank you, Director Dorman and your team for helping in this particular matter. But again, this is one of the things that we hear from our constituents on some of the good things that the city is doing. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam President, there's two things I want to say. I want to keep on my tradition of thanking our military, our nurses, our doctors, those who work in logistics and retail, our teachers, and our police force and our firefighters, because they're the ones that helping keeping us along in this pandemic. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, there is a light at the end of every tunnel, and we're coming up on it. So people, please be patient. 1, 2, this is going to anger some people, but I don't care. Go Bucks, beat Michigan, and good job, Browns. Wait a minute, let me phrase that. Beat that team up north. I shouldn't have said Michigan.
Who day?
You know what? You're done.
Thank you. I may have to switch to the Browns since my Bengals aren't doing so well. But yes, good luck to Ohio State this Saturday. Do we have any other comments from the from council?
I'll congratulate the second place Browns as well.
You know what? The Steelers are in 2 weeks, so I want to. All right.
I'd like to inform everyone that the Reynoldsburg Area Chamber of Commerce is having an online auction, and they have extended it until the 14th. And if you're able to go to their website and perhaps bid on some of the items that they have on their auction, that's on their website for the Reynoldsburg Area Chamber of Commerce. Do we have any other comments from council this evening? Okay, so council anticipates continuing with in-person with our, virtual meetings, as long as we're in the red, or even if we're in purple. Our next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, December the 14th, and that's the last meeting of the year. The December 28th meeting has been canceled. Unless there is no other further business this evening, this meeting is adjourned and the time is 8:04. Have a good evening, everyone, and stay safe, and we'll see each other soon. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Good
patience.
Go Bucks.
Thank you for your patience tonight.
Thank you for pulling it all together as usual. Thank you.
Eventually. All right. Good night.
That's what it sounded like.